There has just been a plethora of knowledge today. Like oh my goodness, I'm ready. And I hope you have met some very interesting people and have been able to network. But right now, it's time for us to announce our winners. Okay, so I don't have a drum roll, and I'm looking at my phone for a second because these were randomly drawn and sent to me. So the first contest we ran was before the summit, and we asked you to show us your name tag, and you will get a good sport box from Central Collective. And so that winner is Juliana Tulos. Are you in the building? I hope I said your last name right. So the first contest winner of the Good Sport Box from the Central Collective, the name tag contest, is Juliana Tulos. So congratulations. Hope you're in the building. We will get that Good Sport Box to you. So it's always great to be a winner. I don't win raffles or anything often, but when I do, you know it. All right. So congratulations, Juliana. The next the next giveaway is from Aeromont School of Arts and Crafts. So they are a national center for contemporary arts and crafts education, supporting learning opportunities for individuals of all skill levels and ages. And so that winner is Megan Monday. Woo! You have won the giveaway for Aeromont School of the Arts. Megan, are you in the building? Give us a shout out. Where are you at, Megan? Are you in the building? Are you here? Congratulations on that. So again, we will make sure that you get what you need to take to Aeromont. So, and actually, that is a free tuition for a national workshop. So, good job there. So now I'm actually going to kick it to Sarai Taylor Roman, who will introduce our next speaker.
Good afternoon. We're about to start our next session. I am Sarai Taylor Roman from Taylor Roman Portrait Photography, and I am a member of the Mayor's Makers Council. I am happy to introduce Stephen Brown from Glitterville. He's a native of East Tennessee, and he has taken the world by storm with his whimsy and love for creativity. Here to guide us in making every day a holiday, please welcome Stephen Brown.
Growing up, my favorite two things in the world was crafting and holidays. And I would spend all of my time from like June 1st on just making things for the Christmas holiday. But unlike all the other kids who were so happy and they couldn't wait for Christmas to arrive, I was sad, and I got sadder the closer it got. And one day my Nana said to me, she said, "Stephen, why are you so unhappy? You know, Christmas is tomorrow." And I'm like, that's why I'm sad, because it's over. All of that holiday joy that surrounds everybody, at that time of year just disappears once the day actually comes. So I said to her, I'm too sad because it's over. And that's when she looked at me and she said, "You have to learn through making and crafting to make every day a holiday." She said, if tomorrow is Christmas and it passes, you have to get excited about the next thing. And if there's not excitement to be had, then you have to make it. So that actually became my philosophy for life. Is every day when you get up, you can decide that you're going to be happy. You're going to decide that you can do the things that you want to do. And that sets you on the path to succeed. Now, one of the things is you have to believe in what you're doing. Now, that's a trait that I think you're born with, because I never doubted what I was doing, where I was going, and the things I wanted to do in life. And I know that other people looked at me and they were like, oh my goodness, he's crazy. He's, this is not realistic. Even my own family, some of them would say, don't get too hopeful for that, just in case it doesn't happen. You have to be your number one cheerleader, because that's the most important thing. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you're never going to have the success from others or the admiration of others, because you don't believe in yourself. And I've always said that the world will not favor those who waver. So never let anyone see you crack in terms of what you believe in and what you want to do. And I always knew, and mine was sort of, I loved theater, I loved crafting, I loved making things. And I knew that within that world, I could do lots of different things. And that's another point I want to make, is that don't pigeonhole yourself so much that you're very specific. I developed a bag of tricks through my crafting and making and doing that would allow me to work in lots of different fields, like theater and television and like that. So I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into just one thing. Now, to be honest, I never really set out as a little boy to be an ornament maker, but I did make ornaments. So it was certainly in the realm of possibility that I could someday be a self-proclaimed glitter mogul like I am today. Now, one of the things about coming from a small town like Rockwood is the support that you don't necessarily receive. My example of that is in high school, when I was getting ready to graduate. You're called into the guidance counselor's office, and he is there to sort of assess what you've done throughout your career in school. And he's going to tell you what he thinks that your life path should be. Now, in a small place like Rockwood, many times kids take that information and they actually follow it through. But for me, it seemed like such an odd thing, because I thought, okay, I'm going to get up there and he's going to see something grand for me. He's going to think television star, something glamorous, something big. But instead, I went into the office, I sit down, he's looking at paper, like I have my notes here today, and he sort of looks down at it, and he turns to me and he said, Stephen, after looking at everything we have here, I think that your best bet in life is going to be working at the post office. The post office. Now, there's nothing wrong with working at the post office, but I thought, I don't want to work at the post office, the Rockwood post office. So I said to him, and I had been very quiet, well, never quiet, but pretty good up to that point. And I looked at him and I said, unless they're sorting Elizabeth Taylor's fan mail, I will not be working at the post office. And I walked out of school that day. I had graduation. And to quote little Edie of Grady Gardens, I said to myself, how am I going to get out of here? Now, that's another thing, that people feel stuck in their situations. You have to know that going into this, I didn't have there was no background. No one I knew did anything in television. No one really made things. There was no real basis to form how I was going to get out of this place, how I was going to get to the next level of what I wanted to do. So, and, a lot of times people say money is the issue. I didn't have the money either. So just keep those things in mind, that those things aren't required to find what you desire in life. So what I did was I went to the University of Tennessee and I majored in theater and costume design. And that was an outlet that allowed me to really start, I wasn't as much of a crafter in terms of making objects, but now I was making costumes. And very wacky. They look like Glitterville products, to be honest. It was never the most sophisticated sewing and draping and all those things. So I knew that community would really serve me. Now, a few years in, I decided, okay, now I'm at school. I'm at the university. But what now? How do I get out of here? Because I've spent a lot of time trying to get to the next place. And so what I did was on a spring break one year, I gathered up some of my costume sketches. I threw them in a bag and I flew to New York City. And I applied for jobs all over the city. Now, mind you, I was only going to be there for 3 days. And so I go there, I go into the appointment and I show them my work and they say, Stephen, this is great. We'll hire you. And I looked at them and said, oh, but I don't actually live here. But I always wondered if I could get a job if I did. And each time their reaction was like, why did you waste our time? And in one particular instance, at a very famous Broadway house, the person who was very famous, who interviewed me, said, you can start on Monday. And I said, oh, I don't live here. And she picks up the stapler and throws it at the wall and hits it right behind my head. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had one more appointment. I went to the last appointment and told them the same thing. I don't live here, but I'll move if you get me a job or get me an apartment. And they said, we don't get people apartments. We'll give you a job, but we don't give apartments. So I said, okay, I'll call you back tomorrow. And they said, it doesn't matter. We don't get people apartments. I flew back to Tennessee. The next morning, I called at a costume house for television and film, and we did soap operas, As the World Turns, One Life to Live, which I had watched all my life. So I was very excited. So I called them, and I said, hey, this is Stephen from Tennessee. Click. Well, they continued to do this for 2 or 3 days. And finally, on Friday of that week, I called. I said, hey, this is Stephen from Tennessee. And they said, we have you an apartment. Move. Be here on Monday. So my example here is you have to take risk. You have to not take no for an answer, because that's one of the worst things that can happen is if you let other people say no. Now, I know this was a little bit of a crazy situation, but the following week, I actually moved there and took the job. And, that's where my career started to really flourish. And that's where people began to see what I was actually doing with everything that I made. And that's the thing you have to do. And today on Instagram and all of the social media platforms, you can reach people that back when I started, there wasn't this as an option. And, but today you can get your products and the things that you're hand making in front of so many people. I'm approached weekly on Instagram by celebrities and different people who would have never found me in the early days like they do today. So you have to really make sure that you put your things out there in social media and let people know who you are. Now, once I was in New York, I started working on movies and television and all these different things. And a celebrity actually saw some ornaments that I was making. And when they saw it, they said, oh, you should do more with that. You should go to Atlanta to the America's Mart, which is a wholesale gift market where all the stores in the world go to order their products. Now, at the time, I didn't know much about that, but I looked into it. I rented a small little booth. It was 10 feet by 10 feet and set up with 5 ornaments for Christmas, 5 ornaments for Halloween, and a candy garland. And it was in that time, I was so excited. that the people from the mart came to me and they're like, Stephen, you were so excited. We have to tell you that this doesn't always work out for people. And I said, but it's going to work out for me because these are the best ornaments anyone's ever made. Now, I truly did believe that, but whether it actually is subjective. But the thing is, it was very positive, and I stayed there in that booth. And when the booth opened, in the first 5 minutes, Country Living magazine approached and said, oh my gosh, we love this. Where's it been? We would love to feature it in the magazine. And then the next person who came was Mary Englebright's Home Companion. They said, we'll give you 12 pages and the cover. I was like, oh my gosh, people are loving the ornaments. In that same hour, I was approached by a large giftware company that used to be responsible for making all the little Christmas villages. And they said, we really love your things. We would like to license your art. And 3 months later, Glitterville was being sold wholesale to stores all around the country. Now, as a crafter, licensing is always one option that you can take. And it comes with good things and it comes with bad things. But for me, it launched the brand and people began to know it. And after 4 years, I decided, you know what, I want to take this back into my own hands and really develop it in a way that is very personal to me. And that is what I did. And luckily, through my first signing with that company, I met someone who was actually in charge of sourcing for the company, who would later join me in Glitterville and to start a new company as well. So we actually have Glitterville and another giant company all making giftware products. And he introduced me to the factories I needed to be introduced to and to learn how to actually make products at my table, but then take it to a fully marketed world where we can actually sell them to stores. And today we have thousands of products. And, you know, the process for me is still sitting at the table and just making. And then we have factories now who reproduce everything that I make. And they can do the painting, they can do the sculpting, all of those things. So as a maker, you have to decide, do you want to take your brand and always keep it as something that is handmade only by your hands and you sell that product? Or do you want to find a way to grow and make your products where they can be seen everywhere? And that's a decision that you know, all crafters really have to look at and decide. Now, another thing to remember is, you know, don't let your current situation become your forever occupation. You know, you're responsible for learning to take what you make and take it to that next level. And part of that is also knowing who you are and being authentic. And, you know, one thing about me is I always try to be very real and very honest. And, you know, Oprah always says, you know, people will see right through you if you're not authentic. And for me, that's why I babble so much, because my mind runs in so many different directions and I want to cover everything that everybody wants. And, you know, but you have to be true to yourself. And I learned that the hard way in New York. In addition to designing costumes for Broadway and things like that, I was also auditioning for shows and TV shows and As the World Turns. And I had a beautiful set of headshots made, and As the World Turns had them. And they gave me a call and they said, Stephen, we would like for you to come in because we want to look at you as the main lead on the show, the romantic lead, and we're very happy that you're coming in. So I said, okay, and I head to As the World Turns. And when I get there, they hold up this picture of me that is very leading man. But when they saw me in person, they said, okay, we have to be honest. We look at this picture that you're giving us, and it looks like you're this romantic lead, when in reality, you're the goofball neighbor down the street. That's what you have to market yourself as. You're not this person. You are this person. And even though you don't like being called the goofball neighbor, I learned then that even if it looks like something on paper that you're not, you really have to go with what you are. And that's the thing with crafting is, be honest and true to yourself, and people will see that and embrace your products even more. Now, life, I know this was in the tagline of what we were talking about today, but for me, life has always been a lot like glitter and glue, because it requires that you know when to sparkle and how not to get stuck in your situations. And that is the best way for that to happen, is to be honest and to never be afraid to ask someone for help, to ask someone to help you on what it is that you're doing that they may be able to help you with. And an example of that is in New York, I really wanted to do windows on Fifth Avenue. And that was never an opportunity for me, because at that time, someone had to die off really for you to take that job. And, someone, a costume designer who had been around forever, actually saw me talking about how passionate I was and how I really wanted to do that, but didn't have an opportunity. And the next day, my phone rang, and it was a well-known department store on Fifth Avenue. And they said, we would love for you to come and design our windows. And I'm like, how did you even know about me? And I actually didn't find out for some time later that it was just making a connection. And again, that person came forward and said, it was because of your honesty and your sincerity that I actually put you out there for that job. So that's another thing that, you have to remember. Now, Glitterville today has lots of products and a new store in Knoxville that we opened last year. And even though Glitterville had been around for a long time and people were aware of it, just having and featuring on my Instagram, the store, the actual store that was here, people began to look at it differently, because you want to create a world around whatever it is you're making. Now, in a few minutes, we'll do a question and answer session that you can do in the Q&A. You probably know more about this than I do. And you can ask me questions about your specific kinds of crafts and how you might take them to the next level. But one thing is, on your social media, you want to be sure and create a world around whatever it is that you are producing, because your product and you are selling a total lifestyle. And that's what the lifestyle brand Glitterville is today. It's a little bit wacky, but it's tasteful and it's holiday and it's fun. And that's what makes you have the ability to make every day a holiday. Now, even though my Nana had no idea at the time what that would be to impact me, or what those few little words that she said to me, how important they would be in my life. But, that is sincerely the truth. We're all responsible for making every day a holiday. And if that's for you, crafting something, making something, whatever it is, you're going to make every day a holiday that way. So I hope that, through hearing some of my wacky tales, and I could go on all day, it's actually hard to shorten it to my 30-minute time frame that we're dealing with here today. But going to New York, you don't have to go somewhere far away. You just have to believe what you're doing and market yourself as such. And remember that, Instagram is a great tool. I know the pandemic has been one of those things that has affected everyone in a different way. And when the pandemic started, I thought, oh, I'll stay at home and I'll just rest up all this time. And of course, none of us knew how long it was going to be. But instead, Brian Crabtree, who works with me, he said, I think we should go to the shop and quarantine there. We actually have an apartment here as well. And go there and quarantine and really work through this time. And that's what we did. We came to the studio, worked night and day. I did something new that I had never done before, Instagram Lives. Now, even though I had been on Instagram for a little while, I had never done a live session. And I started doing those and started showing products. And, sales were great. I heard someone earlier, right before my thing here, talking about how sales had gone up online. And that's true. This is instead of looking at this pandemic time as a bad thing when you can't show your items at perhaps a real brick and mortar store, you can now show it online because people are looking for ways to make their homes happy. They're looking for holiday things. They're looking for gift holidays. So use this pandemic time when the rest of the world is sort of, things are quiet and sort of not opening and things like that. Use your online presence to build your brand. And, I think you'll see that even through Instagram Lives, and if you follow me on Instagram, I do a couple a week. And, I've met my customers, some of which I had never, in all the years Glitterville has been in business, I didn't really know some of them. And now I know them by first name and last name. And, they text me and we talk. And, so there's so many things that you can do during this pandemic. And, I believe that there are much sparklier days ahead. And until then, we just have to embrace everything that's going on and continue on and make every day a holiday. So let's look over in our questions and answers. I don't see anything in our question. I don't know how to work this. Glitter and glue, know when to sparkle, when not to get stuck. Yes, being from the South, quotes are something your Nana gives you always. One of the things that she told me in school was, you're going to be way too much sparkle for some people, and those are not your people. So you also want to remember that you have to sort of find your flock in what you're doing, because one of the most important things is to have people around you who believe what you're doing and support you on whatever it is. Because, Glitterville has been one of these things that has taken, somebody said, oh, you were successful overnight. Well, it was sort of all my life and overnight. And even now, the hours that crafters put in are so much more than a lot of other fields, but it's what it takes to actually be successful. And even though Glitterville is now a success, I still work night and day. We come to work or we're at work already, you stay all day into the night. It's just how it is. And theater is a similar situation. So it's sort of been how my whole life has been set up. So someone over here, Alex, said, how much glitter do you use in a typical day? Well, that just depends on what we're making that day. So sometimes it can be a lot of glitter, sometimes it can be just a little. So, at Glitterville, we also have glass glitter. So we go through piles of things. Let's see, do's and don'ts of licensing your products. The great thing about licensing is it puts your brand out there, just like Glitterville was introduced to the world. And that company at the time was Department 56, who was very famous for making all the little village houses. So it was a way for me. Again, I didn't come into this with a lot of money. I didn't have any background, know anybody. For me, it was the ideal thing to license, but only for that 4 years. Licensing generally earns you only about anywhere from 3 to 5% of sales. So that's the general amount that you earn. Now, at the same time, you're not putting any money into this. So a company that is producing all of your products, they have all of the cost involved. So it's also a way to get really fabulous products that you are getting paid for and not putting any money into. Take those earnings that you have and put that towards building your own company if you want to do that a little later. So that's sort of the do's and don'ts of licensing. And, the only real don't is that you get a percentage, but at the same time, you're not putting any money in it. So, and in our other company today, we do license artists. And it's one of those things that I always talk to them about. And I say, I understand. And, that's where I started. And so everybody has a different plan. But that's certainly one way to do it. Can you show us some costume designs? I only have a couple here that were laying on my desk that, for me, it was always about sparkle. Even if it were a costume design, even if it were opera, whatever it was was always about the sparkle. This was for a production of Cinderella, which is the story of Cinderella and her ugly stepsisters. This was a movie with Diana Ross. This was another ugly stepsister. So you can see that my costume renderings are a lot like ornaments, so not that much different. What do you do on sad days? Oh, everybody has sad days. Everybody has bad days. Those around me will probably say I'm grumpy sometimes, but you just get through it. It's like the pandemic. We're all in this together. You just keep going, just keep making and doing. And, usually making things really cheers me up. So, and I'm assuming that since you're here, it does you also. So let's see. Thank you. Someone said the drawings were fun. So yeah, I'm happy to answer anything that you might want to know about licensing, or anything I'm not really sure what everyone out there makes. I only went to one meeting with the makers group because I'm usually traveling, except now when it's the pandemic. And I was so amazed at the wide range. There were people over here making furniture, people over here doing leather working and glass blowing. And, for me, Glitterville is based on a handful of items. It's glitter, it's glue, it's paper clay, it's paper mache. That's how all these giant characters are made. So my kind of crafting, is a little less, in some ways, is not the museum art kind of crafting materials that a lot of you out there are actually doing. And so that's possibly how you reproduce furniture and all those things, I'm fascinated by too, how you get furniture to a new line. And let's see. Yes, it is museum art. That is true. Let's go over here. Worked in California, Hollywood. Yes, I was a judge on Craft Wars, hosted by Tori Spelling. And most all the shows that I've done have been crafty kind of shows of make and do. What does your other company look for in an artist to license? Do you work with illustrators or pattern designers? We actually look for fun art. Illustrators, we do things like we created a paper plate that isn't paper. It's actually made of melamine. It sort of took over the world. about 10 years ago. And that continues to be an item that we constantly license artwork for to go on them. Brian, can you hand me a Paris plate? We have Paris plates that were inspired by some old wallpaper drawings that were found in Paris. And this is a good example of that kind of product. Voila, like this. So in our other company, we also look for illustrators and people like that to design a series of plates, as well as ornaments and other home decor. So it's a little bit of everything. Where do you get purchase supplies, materials for the items you make when you're developing new items? Again, my craft regimen is very small in terms of what I use. I use paper mache, paper clay, glitter, glue, and that's what my craft books are based on, is taking average materials and turning them into something really fun and fabulous. Re-engage with online presence, exactly. And so anyway, I think that is it. It looks like, what are your personal guidelines in building beauty? Well, in the end, I want things to be brightly colored. I want them to be happy. I want when people see it to smile. And that's usually one of the biggest compliments I get with Glitterville is, when I see that, it makes me smile. So that's the most you can hope for in times like this. So anyway, I hope you had fun today. And I hope you remember to go to your craft table. Somebody said, are you inspired by Mary Blair? I actually love Mary Blair. And she has been on my radar my entire life. Since I was a little boy and went to see It's a Small World at Disney. That's been, like my number one my entire life. But it's only in the last year or so that people have actually known enough about Mary Blair to ask about her. So thank you. I love Mary Blair. Is there something you've always wanted to do, but you've been put on the back burner? I get up every day with a list of 50 things I want to do, and I accomplish 2 of them. So there's always a rollover list of things that, you would like to do. But for the most part, if I think of some wacky thing that I really want to do, I figure out how to do it, and I go and do it. So, but there's always things, life is short, so you have to be busy. And that's what I try to do. So anyway, it looks like we're out of questions and answers, probably out of time. I've tried to hurry, so it's all been a bit scattered. But anyway, go to your craft tables, have fun, make it. Oh, now, why did Knoxville become your return home? Well, I lived in New York City. Glitterville became so big that I couldn't actually do my work there because it's very expensive and very small. And so I came back to Tennessee so I could have more studio space, and actually returned to Knoxville 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, something like that, to this fabulous building that's downtown, which I've always loved. It's a wacky shape, and that's where we opened our store, which is just this tiny little thing, but like a little candy box. So that's how I got back to Knoxville. So anyway, now I think there's no more questions and answers. So anyway, go to your craft tables and remember, have fun, make it, and make every day a holiday. See you later. Oh, and follow me on Instagram, Will Craft Live. See ya.
Thank you, Stephen. Oh my gosh. I feel so inspired to make and create. I think today it's been full of that. And Stephen, thank you so much for ending with that, giving us just a little bit of oomph and desire and inspiration, what we need to continue to create. I think today was all about pivoting in the midst of a pandemic. How do you continue to create and have creative ideas in the midst of that? And I think today was just what we needed. So thank you so much, you guys. We appreciate your attendance at today's workshops. This has been amazing, and I've enjoyed the conversation and your enthusiasm. We're going to break off for our discussion groups to finish off our day. Thank you. To everybody, remember expert sessions, register for them by 5 o'clock today. You can do that by going to the makercitysummit.org /summit. Hold on, I got my paper here. Yes, /summit tips. Register for your expert sessions. They will be open until 5 o'clock today. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. This has been awesome. Don't forget to fill out your feedback form when we send it to you. And check this out. Stephen Brown has graciously included a 20% coupon to Glitterville, and that we will send you in your email. So thank you, Stephen, for that. Again, Stephen has graciously included a 20% coupon to Glitterville, and we will provide that to you in an email. So that concludes our day. Now go forth and make